Hello, welcome to OnQA. In this session, we're going to talk about the real devices and the virtual devices. So already we know about what is a real device, what is a virtual device. But to get started, before we go and program and test the applications, both in real devices and in the virtual devices, I wanted to show you the difference between the virtual device and the real devices. That is the first factor. The second factor, certain times we need to connect the virtual device and the real device to a USB cable, and that should be integrated to the Android or integrated to the script or integrated to the Appium. But how do we do that? How do we connect and show a real device on the screen? And how do we represent a virtual device on the screen? And how the Appium would recognize these devices? So that is the important factor that we need to know. So before we go and program and make use of Appium, at this point of time, I wanted to help you and show you how we can utilize both real devices and virtual devices, and how we can represent on screen, how we can get connected with these devices with the Appium, and what are the things required to show that, to represent that. So that is the intention. Let's go and talk about and see how we can utilize both real devices and virtual devices with respect to the Appium. So let's get started. So there are so many tools. I would talk about a few important tools which would help you to show on the screen the real devices as well as the virtual devices. At this point of time, let me just go and show you. So this is my real device and this is my virtual device. So how do we make sure which is real, which is virtual? For the virtual device, you can see the menus options provided by the Genymotion software. This is a real device. What is the guarantee? The guarantee, you can just example, let me operate on my mobile. You can see the screens being operated. Example, if I go to all apps, you can see all my apps open. If I just go to maps, you can see it would load the maps application. So similar to that, if I minimize, everything can be minimized. If I search something Google, and that should do the same thing for me. So this is a real device which I connected through the USB cable and which I am able to represent on my screen. And what is the software which is helping us to get connected and represent that on the screen? There are so many softwares, but one of the software which I like the most, which is really good to show both the Android mobiles and iOS, Apple, iPhone mobiles also onto the screen, is called, this is the application. This application name is called Mobigen. So Mobigen is an application which needs to be installed in the Android device. Let me just go and show you. So this is what Mobigen is, application which needs to be installed in the mobile device, and then it needs to be installed again into the desktop. Once we install, then we can log in with one account both in mobile and in the desktop with an account whatever we registered. By means of that, the Mobigen can integrate and show you the real mobile on the screen. And we definitely need to have a mobile USB cable where we need to plug in and get connected the mobile into the laptop or desktop. Once it is done, the Mobigen is able to show that onto the screen. Example, while we test, we can see everything on this page. Example, let me just go and show you some sample application. Let me just go. Let's say I wanted to demonstrate on the WordPress application, and let's say for the time being I'm trying to log in manually, but later on while we automate, the same thing we can see on the screen. Whatever the things that we wanted to see now, the same thing can be represented on the screen with the automation as well. The tool which I liked, which I suggest, which you can also try, is called Mobigen. So this is the real Android mobile where I am able to show you the real references, the real screen sharing on the desktop. So this is the first one, and this is called a virtual machine. And how do we create the virtual machine? To do that, we have a software which I installed called Genymotion. So Genymotion is a free software. This particular virtual device name is called Nexus, which is operating system which is built on 4.22, and that's what you can see them. And it is just like the same mobile. All the applications whatever we can install on the real device, still we can do that, but only one difference, it's not a real mobile. The second difference, we cannot trust the virtual device 100% accurately, just like the same functionality, same behavior, same implementation of real mobile, because it's virtual. Certain times there could be dependency with respect to software, dependency with respect to settings, dependency with respect to application within the programming. There could be a lot of differences, but the best part to operate and to test is the real devices. You can see real devices just works the same way whatever we do, but we cannot do that in the virtual device. But I suggest we operate and test everything with respect to the real device. However, certain times to demonstrate, because all the times we might not buy all the mobile devices, the required operating system, the required Android platform, the required Android mobile, maybe Nexus or LG or Samsung whatsoever, we would create virtually. We could also test the required application on virtual devices. But however, we do both real device implementation and virtual device implementation. So this is first of all the Android platform based Android mobile real device, and this is Android mobile virtual device. Now let me just go and disconnect this and connect an iPhone and show you how we can also represent the iPhone on the screen. So I'm just connecting the real device. Let me close this. I wanted to close this. Now I'm closing this. Now I wanted to open the actual Mobigen software. Let me bring that onto the screen. Once this is available, this time I wanted to connect the iOS. Just click on that. Now it leads to the iOS phone shape. Now what I need to do, I need to open my iPhone, and there is a setting that I need to follow, and I need to select Mobigen mirroring. The moment when I select, and you can see that my screen is visible on the screen. So this is an iPhone. So we might not need iPhone on the screen to be tested, that's for sure. But how do we represent certain times what we have on the screen to somebody else? So one application which is good for both iPhone and mobiles, as well as the Android and mobiles with respect to both iOS and Android. The tool name is called Mobigen. I strongly recommend, I request whoever is working on the Appium technology, whoever is trying to automate the Appium programming with respect to iOS, with respect to the Android, I strongly suggest install and make use of the Mobigen application. So with respect to this, we can be able to show the real devices on the screen. And while the Appium starts executing, we can also see the programming be implemented on the screen itself. This is very useful when we wanted to demonstrate to the team, or demonstrate to the management, or demonstrate to the client, or demonstrate to somebody else. We can share the screen where everything can take place and everybody can see what's happening. And in this session, my intention is to tell you there are virtual devices and there are real devices. The primary thing we need to represent on the screen, and one of the best tool which I liked, which is free, which can represent both iOS and iPhone and iPad and Android mobiles like an LG, Nexus, Samsung, everything on screen. The application name is called Mobigen. Once we are good with respect to setup of Mobigen, we can show on the screen, and whatever we program and test to the Appium, I can be able to show you on the screen itself. So I don't need to worry about how you can see the things happening in my mobile, because I have this particular tool which I can show you directly on my screen. And we would also work with virtual device. At this point of time, I'm not going to show you how we can create a virtual device, but later on we definitely go and see how we can create, set up and initialize and make use of virtual devices. So in this point of time, the major intention is to go and show you how we can utilize the mobile devices representation on the screen. Since we are good, in the next one we will come back and talk about how we can create virtual devices, how we can program with respect to Android, how we can program with respect to iOS little separately. So thank you so much. Thanks for watching the video. So let me summarize what we have discussed. And to connect a real device onto the screen, onto the laptop so that everybody can see, the tool that we have used is the Mobigen. Let me write on the screen. The tool that we have used is called Mobigen. This is the tool. And this helps for both Android as well as even the iPhone or iOS mobiles also can be connected through USB cable and can be shown onto the screen. So this is the first important factor. The second important factor, we need a Genie motion software which is needed to create the virtual devices. And why do we need virtual devices? We need the virtual devices because all the devices we cannot purchase and make use of. Example, Samsung has got so many versions, so many models. LG has got so many models and so many versions. So we cannot use all the devices in a real. Certain times we need to create the virtual devices. So we can do that by Android SDK itself. But while we compare the Android SDK virtual devices creation and initiation, it's pretty slow. But to make it little more faster, accurate, little more efficient, Genymotion is the best one I could suggest, so that it loads very frequently, fastly, and things can be shown very clearly. And to represent you, to show you what I have, what is the best after so much analysis and investigations, this is what best for both real devices and virtual devices to be represented on the screen. And once we are good with this, then we will go and talk about how we can implement everything with respect to Appium. So thank you so much. Thanks for watching the video. Please visit earnq.com. There are so many videos, presentations, articles, books and PDFs with respect to automation, test management, performance testing and functional testing. So thank you so much and see you again.